set up. How do I... Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm 5 minutes early, but that gives me time to set up my other screen so that I can answer you when you talk to me. So there we are. Click. Okay. I think we're good. All right. So I have the mom glove just to because I was trying to be mom last time and I couldn't find the glove. Good morning, everybody. Happy Ides of February. All right, enough of that. Today, I'm really excited to talk to you about a lot of stuff. And but I have 4 minutes. I have 4 minutes to wait until we actually get started. So I'm going to just tell you a couple of cool things. One is that everyone that I'm talking to with the book, with the Pivot book, is sharing something unexpected. And why that is amazing, why that's really important, is that it's giving me a chance to evolve the idea, to actually pivot, to actually pivot the idea. Oh, good morning, Charles. Yes, and good morning to the yellow gloves of mom. Yes, good morning, Charles. And Charles is one of the people I want to talk about because we've been messaging back and forth about including him in the book. But I'm going to wait just a couple of seconds until it's actually 10 o'clock so I don't jump the gun. What time is it now? It's 9:57, of course. It's going to take forever. What's really interesting is that every single person I'm talking to about the idea of pivoting is bringing a different perspective to it. It's something that I hadn't thought about. All of them, all of the ideas, all of the perspectives are fascinating because obviously they're valid. Somebody brings it to the table, it's valid. And it's giving me a chance to sit back and think, oh, so maybe the book wants to be like this. Maybe it wants to go like that. It's very interesting what books do when you decide to, get involved with them. So, it's 9:58. I'm actually going to start. All right, just give me a second here. Click. All right. Magnus and I are wishing you all a very safe and sane and happy Ides of February. Good morning, Magnus. Magnus, the Christmas tree Viking, was a gift from two amazing friends of mine who sent me a message and said, so we were in this store and we both saw it at the same time and we both said, Abby. And I don't know about you, but that's just a lovely thing because clearly I wasn't going to be on their mind, and then all of a sudden I was. All of a sudden, their visit to that store was all about me, which is, as it should be, really. So Magnus has become part of my entourage. Magnus is the kind of Christmas tree ornament that every person should have, because not only can he just hang and look amazing, but he dances. I mean, really, what more could you possibly want? A dancing Viking. So I like to refer to the 15th of February as the Ides of February. First of all, because the 15th is the Ides, and secondly, because the Ides of March doesn't have a happy ending, if you've read any Shakespeare. And I find that when people gear up to have the most love ever and the most yummy, scrumptious time ever with their sweetie pie, Um, you know, it's a lot of expectation, and the gods being what they are, sometimes there's a crush and bitter disappointment, and you know, because every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So the Ides of February would be the aftermath of expectation. And today, where I am, the tiny corner of the world where I am, it says it's -12, but that doesn't include the wind. So what it really is, and this is Celsius. So you add 32, and then you lean to the left, and I think you eat a carrot or something to get it into Fahrenheit. Um, so it's cold. It's the kind of cold where you open the door and to try and get the dog to go out, and the dog looks at you as though you have failed it again. Because I don't want to go out and do that. Why haven't we arranged for me to go in and do that? The dog is saying. So it's cold. It's February. And lots of people are having a tough time. In my tiny corner of the world, I am within spitting distance of the capital of Canada. And the capital of Canada has been going through a rough patch. Not only like everybody else around the world, has Ottawa been dealing with the virus that is invisible and scary. But in the last few weeks, the capital has been inundated by a lot of people who have chosen Ottawa as the launch point of the focus of their frustration with how long it's taking life to get back to normal. And so the city was overrun by trucks and supporters of those driving the trucks, and which is fine. I mean, you know, when you live in a capital city, you expect people to come and voice their opinion, and everybody's allowed to protest. However, these individuals have overstayed their welcome, and it's been awful, purely awful for the people who live right in the downtown heart of the city. And I know many people who live right in the downtown. And so a big thing happened yesterday. A big thing happened, and that is that, yes, Charles, it's also the National Flag of Canada Day today. Our Prime Minister finally said, okay, we're going to make some hard and fast rules now, because we've heard your message, we understand your concerns, and now this is what we're going to do. Because everyone is entitled to voice their opinion, and now we are going to voice our opinion. And so there's a lot of upset people. And on both sides, on all sides, because this is the way life is. So oddly, that happening in the midst of all these revelations I'm having with my conversations in talking to people about pivoting. Pivoting, to my way of thinking, is what we do when life has other plans. When we were going to have a pool party, and oh look, hurricane. All right, so then what are we going to do with all the cold cuts and the salad? And we hired a band. We need to come up with a plan B or C or D. And Vikings, among many, were famous for it. And when I realized that I couldn't produce the kinds of shows that I've been producing for a very long time, because of the unpredictability, the up and down of the impact of this virus that has swept the world. And I saw so many of my really talented, beautiful, wonderful friends who are in the entertainment industry, who are creative, and whose livelihoods are wrapped up in live entertainment, audience interaction, participation. And I saw the crushing effect that had on them. I said to myself, I'm a Viking, I should be able to think up a viable alternative to this. I refuse to be held hostage to this. There's got to be a way. And you know, I like to say that I'm quick on my feet, but it's really hard to rethink a thing when you only know of it in one way. You know, once you say sandwich, you're pretty much thinking of two slices of something with something in between. That's a sandwich. So what if you can't have a sandwich, but you still have the ingredients? What else are you going to do with it? And I just did a cooking reference. What? Oh, cooking reference. I'm really sorry. So what I came up with was predicated on the fact that Fame, the book that I wrote about all of, well, many of my kids and many of my colleagues, our recognition factor wasn't based on the fact that people came to the corner pub to watch us sing and dance and play. It was because we were on television, and then, as well as television, we were syndicated, and now we're on the internet. And so our audience, our people like us who do things like us, are global. Well, if the internet is there for that, I said, it should be there for everything we want to do. All I need to do is build a tribe. I need to build a family. I need to build a concept that everybody can say, ooh, cool, to get them curious enough to give it a try. And so that's where my idea of Story Me TV came from. Story Me is an invitation. It's like when you play blackjack and you say to the dealer, hit me, and he doesn't, punch you in the face. He gives you more cards. I'm saying Story Me. Tell me your stories. Let's put them together. Let's knit concepts that are different and exciting, that are all wrapped up in your stories. Let's create a whole section in the production company called fanfare. It's like fan fiction only on with sprinkles and icing on top. Because fanfare is stuff created by the fans that I produce, that I coordinate, that I polish, that I get together with my tech friends, because not tech savvy, and we make into something amazing that everybody can watch on all kinds of platforms. The only drawback, of course, was me and technology and platforms. Because so I think that I'm onto something. I think I'm onto something. I think that everything I have in my vault, all the show concepts, can be altered and done in different ways, and done in different platforms, in different formats. We can do them more than one way because they're fluid. What we have to be willing to do is pivot, is shift our idea of what's normal. So I was going along gangbusters and saying this to people, and I was getting these polite smiles and nods and everything, and it didn't occur to me until I suddenly said, duh. I've been thinking about this for 2 years, awake and asleep. Nobody else has. Everybody else has been doing what they do, sitting down in a restaurant saying, I'll have the chef's surprise, and it turns out to be liver and lima beans. That kind of thing. And so I realized, oh wait, I have all these people and I'm telling them I want them involved. Here's the deal. Let's do a book, a conversation book about our collective ability to pivot, to rethink. Excuse me just a second. I'm just going to refresh this so that I don't miss anybody. Well, good morning, Daniel. Thank you for joining me. And Jessie, good morning, sweetie. Good morning. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad. I said to myself, I need to be able to give people an opportunity to see what I'm doing and be part of what I'm doing now. Experience talking to me and sharing a story and working with me as I weave that into their chapter, into their section of a book, which I publish because I have this publishing company. And then there we are. we are, in this moment, people like us doing things like this. And I said, I'm going to keep it fairly short. The only drawback with fame was the fact that they were famous, and I really wanted a book with a lot of photographs in it. And so here's the beautiful thing about the book. You know, pretty much any chapter you want to look at, there's fabulous pictures, and they're in color. Yay, they're in color. Okay, but then when I publish it on Amazon, well, so well, that's going to cost you. I mean, great book, but it's going to cost you. So it's an expensive book. And I want the book to be too expensive. So what I'm going to do in this case, we don't need backstage pictures of everybody the way I did in Fame. What we'll do is we'll just do one picture at the beginning of your chapter, right? And you'll pick it and we'll talk about it and it'll be fabulous. So the title of the book is going to be Pivot Masters of the Galaxy. And our galaxy is all of the people that we've connected with who have pivoted and impacted and nudged us and had their ripple effect on us all through our lives. Because that's what Story Me TV is. So I've got this gorgeous picture of a galaxy with all these rotating, wonderful planets. And that's our galaxy. That's our Story Me TV galaxy. And we are the pivot masters in that galaxy. Now, I started to ask people if they would like to be in the book, and all of a sudden, in a really short time, I got a lot of people saying yes. So I'm already at 9 people, and it was only a week when I started asking, and I've already interviewed 4, and they're preliminary interviews, because the first thing is a conversation to figure out where we are. And then I go away, and I do some homework, I do some research so that I can ask intelligent follow-up questions. And then I write up what that follow-up conversation is like. And what I end up with is what I like to call a polished first draft. And I send the first draft to each of the people, and they read it, and they say, ooh, no, did I say that? Don't do that. Or they say, oh, I love this. And then they get a little waiver, and they sign off, and their chapter goes into the book. And I've done this a bunch of times. I've done this for a couple of very serious projects. A beautiful woman who went through hell, really. I not only did her book for her, with her, but then I wanted to normalize all the terrible things that had happened to her. So I interviewed people all over North America who had been through something similar. And I ended up with 2 books. One was Survivors, people who had been through something, and the other book was White Knights. And these are the people who helped the survivors. And I discovered in the process that pretty much all White Knights were a survivor at one time, and they decided that it was never going to happen to anyone else if they could help it. And so they became Riders to the Rescue, which is wonderful. So if you're ever curious, as I'm prattling on about these books, if you're ever curious, you can go to Amazon Books and just, type in the search thing at the top, Amazon Books, Abby Haggard. And what you'll see are all the different books, well, some of the different books, that I've had a hand in, either editing or ghosting or actually putting my own name on. And the whole idea for me is that a book is a story that involves events that happened that we sometimes fictionalize in order to avoid the lawsuits. We sometimes fictionalize, and we sometimes provide as fact. And I've done memoirs, I've done all kinds of books. So it means that what I'm going to bring to this is an opportunity to be part of something that I will make sure looks great and reads beautifully. Because why would I do anything less? How would you ever deserve anything less? Does that make sense? I hope so. So, a funny thing happened yesterday. 2 things happened yesterday. One was that I realized, as I was doing a caption for one of the pictures that I posted, I meant to type poetry in motion. And as I was typing it, I realized pivotry in motion. And I thought, I've just coined a new phrase, and I love it, because pivotry I think is exactly what we're doing. It's a movement, it's a state of mind, it's an intention, it's a line in the sand, and if we are pivot masters, then pivot mastery is pivotry, and we're experts at it. Now, the really interesting thing that I've also been talking about to everyone that I've interviewed is that most people don't realize they're pivoting because we've done it unconsciously our whole lives. We just do it. And I think it's important for people to understand that they're doing it, how they're doing it, and how good they are at it. Because so many other things for me give you an ability to say, huh, yeah, that's right. I am good at that. I'm walking here. Because it's your superpower. We all have it. You have it, and you've been using it a long time. So, I was talking about 3 different parts of our brain that we use all the time. And I'm going to certainly talk about it in the book. But I think it's important because we have new people joining us all the time. Good morning, Gern. How are you? Jean, you're awake. Yay. Good morning. Drink your coffee. We all need to be reminded from time to time of the things that we're actually pretty darn good at without realizing it. Now, the reason I know what pivoting is not because I'm smarter than the average bear. It's that I'm in show business. And pivoting is what we do in show business when we jump from character to character, when we shift outside of the way we walk and talk and shift into the way the character is required to walk and talk according to the script. That's a pivot. And one of the things that happened yesterday, I was reading a post written by a longtime friend of mine. His name is Brian. And Brian and I were in theater together many, many, many years ago. And it was in college. And we were doing this show. It was called The Decline and Fall of Practically Everybody. It was a wonderful, silly play. And our mentor, Frank Daly, had taken it off the page and turned it into a stage play, and it was wonderful. And Brian was supposed to portray, it just as a one-off, one-liner, a king of England, which one I can't remember, he will of course, who thought he could speak French because he had learned a couple of phrases. And his moment was to walk across the stage and say to the audience, "Donnez-moi un toasted ham sandwich." And can you believe I can remember this, Brian? And so every single time he did it, he would say to me afterwards, "One of these days that door that I have to exit by is going to be locked, because nobody's backstage making sure it doesn't get locked, and there's going to be a college caretaker who says, well, that door shouldn't be open,' and lock it, and I'm going to be screwed." And what he didn't tell me was what his plan B was. and I should have asked him, because whatever he was doing, I followed. So what he said mattered. I mean, of course, everything Brian says matters to me, but in this particular moment, what he was saying in the script mattered. So sure enough, one of the shows, he strides across the stage, looks at the audience and says, "Donnez-moi a toasted ham sandwich," straight arms the door, and it's locked. And he nearly dislocates his arm at the shoulder. And he pivots and says, "Never mind, make it a pizza," and walks the other way off stage. And everybody on stage is going, the audience didn't know, unless they'd been there the night before. Nobody knew, except everybody on stage and the director, who was laughing backstage because he wasn't out front trying to pick up after that. So the reason I tell that story is because pivoting has a ripple effect. Everything has a ripple effect. But when people expect you to be going this way and you suddenly turn and change direction, they can find themselves walking up the back of you. I have a girlfriend who changes her mind a lot. And she does it so suddenly that she causes the utmost damned astonishment every time. And she keeps saying, I don't see why. You don't warn anybody. So Pivotry, the way we're going to talk about it and the way we're going to use it, is going to come with all kinds of bells and whistles. And even then there will be people who will not see it coming. And they'll say, well, I didn't know you were going to do that. And, oh well, we're going to cause the utmost damned astonishment, which is really the Viking motto. It's the unwritten Viking motto because we didn't have a written language. So, Pivotry, by my definition, is the ability to switch from mindset to mindset in order to change the game to make it work for us. Because in literature and in life, character drives plot, always and forever. And the three states of mind that we use to pivot. The first one is the primitive cave brain. The primitive cave brain is the oldest part of our brain. It's our survival brain. It only thinks in the present tense. It only thinks we have one tribe. It only thinks we have one person we need to impress, the alpha. And that is why our panic cave brain keeps telling us what a disappointment we're going to be, and you'll get fired if you don't. And if you don't eat all your food, somebody somewhere is going to starve. Because that, back in the days of yore, was the cave brain's job. To help you, us, we, stay in line with the alpha in the cave, the strongest, most powerful person in the cave who would keep us safe from the saber-toothed whatnots outside. So that cave brain is very important. That cave brain does a lot of our primitive functions for us. You know, when we're driving the car for hours and hours, the cave brain will take over and do those primary functions until a big present-day decision has to be made. And then it hands it off to our conscious brain. Which is why, when we're driving down the highway wondering if we should have pork chops for dinner, and all of a sudden we go, oh, it's because the cave brain says, here, yours, and there's a deer or a moose or a bear or another car or lightning, and what, and we have to recalibrate on the fly. The two brains that we choose to use in that moment, I like to call stage manager brain and actor brain. I had a conversation yesterday with a wonderful guy who's going to be included in the book, who was talking to me about mental health. And I realized that he was the epitome, the condition that he was talking to me about was the epitome of the balance between the stage manager brain and the actor brain. And I thought, I never saw that coming. How exciting. This is going to be an opportunity for me to really properly explain it using a real-life example. So stage manager brain is the one taking in the details of the big picture. The stage manager brain is the one that says, okay, don't do that, no, shit. And I step backwards off the stage in the dark, or fall down a flight of stairs in the dark, because I wasn't paying attention, because actor brain was facing forward, stage manager brain is going, no, and or catching me in time. Sometimes stage manager brain does catch me in time. Stage manager brain is the one who is evaluating the outcome, the odds. The stage manager brain is saying, okay, you're going to need to lean to the left. Actor brain says, why? And stage manager, just do it. Stage manager, just do it. And so actor brain says, well, okay, and does it. So we have stage manager brain, who is seeing the very, very big picture. Actor brain is focused, straightforward, laser on the moment, is in the moment, is doing what needs to be done. Stage manager brain is choosing best options. Cave brain is trying to keep you alive. Isn't that an interesting analysis of the way our brains work? Yeah, I'm not that clever to think all of it up myself. I've had the great good fortune to work with two people who are specialists in neuroscience, the study of the brain and how it works, how it functions, and a couple of therapists who are my clients, who have reassured me that no, I'm not crazy, and yes, that's a very good idea, and good point, Abby. I know they're patting me on the head. I know they're just trying to keep me safe from myself. But I take the compliments where I can. So, I told the Brian story. I'm going to tell another pivot story that had a ripple effect, because it relates to the protests that are happening all over the world right now. Back in the 1960s, in the late 1960s, there was a huge strike that crippled France. Huge. Riots everywhere. Violence, brought in the police, rubber bullets, tear gas. And it happened at the exact moment that my dad was flying back from Canada to get ready to retire. And his plan was to land in France on a military flight and then catch the next military flight to Germany to pick up the family, and we would go home. The strike held him hostage. There were no planes, trains, or automobiles moving. There was nothing. He couldn't go anywhere. The phone system was down. Everything. And my dad, being a Viking, and my dad being determined to get to where he wanted to go, said, I don't think so. And he put his clever brain to work. And while he was doing that, he saw a tour bus. He walked up to the tour bus, and the good thing about a tour bus is that the people on tour bus are usually tourists who probably don't speak French or German or Spanish. And that's a good thing, because my dad spoke French the way I sing. So he got on that tour bus, and unfortunately had to visit a whole bunch of churches and sites, because that's what the tour bus was doing, and that's what the people on the tour bus had paid to do. And he rode on that tour bus until the tour bus ran out of gas and couldn't buy any more. He got off the tour bus, and he asked if there was another one, and he saw another one. He was able to find another one after walking with all of his suitcases. He managed to flag down another tour bus. Now here was the irony. Where he got off the plane and where he wanted to go was roughly 200 miles apart. He could have driven there in half an afternoon. He was this amazing driver. We drove everywhere. He was not able to do that. He was held hostage in the moment. The actions of all those people angry with their lives had a massive ripple effect, not only on the country, but on my dad. Now, it also had a massive ripple effect on me, because the plan had been that I would get to stay with friends for a while after my dad and my mom left. Yeah, not after that. My dad came home and said, you're not staying. I don't care how wonderful the opportunity is. You're not staying. We're not leaving you in a country like this under these conditions. And we left. And I missed out on that opportunity. I also missed out probably on a lot of dangerous things that could have happened, because, by the way, these riots were serious. So what ended up happening to me was that I didn't get to go where I thought I was going to go. I went someplace else, because my dad had been able to pivot in the midst of a very serious crisis, because my dad was wired that way. He was able to find another path. He was flexible enough and determined enough and Viking enough to say, I don't think so. And and that is where we all are in our lives every day. We have expectations. You know, there's that wonderful expression, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. Yeah. It's what has happened to everybody that I've been interviewing for the Pivot Mastery book. It is what has happened to all of us in the last 2 years with this virus. It is what happens to all of us when we lose a loved one, when we lose a job, when a natural disaster ruins everything that we had hoped for and longed for. And how we survive and how we thrive is based on how well we pivot. And the good news is, I've got your back, because I'm good at it. I'm not only a military kid, I'm a showbiz kid. Pivotry is in our genes. So, I want to let you know that if I fill up one book with Pivotry stories, I can do another, and another, and another after that. Or video books that you watch. Because, oh, by the way, that's part of what we're doing on Story Me TV. So, I want you to do two things for me. I've run long. Quelle surprise. I want you to do two things for me, if you would be so kind. The first is selfish. I would like you to like and share this video. I would like you to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. By the way, when I asked last time, 10 people subscribed. Oh, it's so exciting. It went from 50 to 60 people in just a couple of days. I'm so touched and I'm so thrilled. So those are the things I want you to do for me, okay? And I will post, after this, I will post the direct link to the YouTube channel because it's a bit complicated. Oh, wait, it's technology. So I will post that link. Those are the two things I would like you to do for me. Like what you're seeing, leave a comment, and share it with your friends, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Okay, that's for me. For you, until I talk to you on Thursday, I want you to do two things for you. I want you to be good to you, because you deserve it. You do. You're amazing. And the other thing I want you to do is hug your loved ones, because they deserve it too. Thanks for watching.